All right, y'all, let's get this thing started. This is going to be a divisive live stream. I'm just telling you right off the bat. I've already read the comments, some of you guys' comments already in the chat. I've read the comments on YouTube. I've read the comments on Twitter. So we'll get into all of that. But before we do, please, if you would, just give it a thumbs up on your way in. I see my guy, Let's Go Frank, or Let's Be Frank is in the chat. Also, Let's Go Frank. Appreciate you for being here. Appreciate all the moderators, everybody else. God bless you. I know I haven't been doing the streams every day, but I appreciate those of you that still tune in. So please, if you would, give it a thumbs up. God bless you. Someone said Mike is late. He's fired and can pick up his last check when he feels like it. You're funny. Appreciate you all for being here, though. Okay. All right. Now, this is going to be a divisive stream because people have opinions on both sides of this argument, or both sides of the DeSantis Trump thing. It's a lot of people are talking about it right now. Obviously, the politicians and the media and the left, they're looking at it as this is great. Conservatives, Republicans are infighting. They love it because they think it's cannibalism. And they're, regardless of if you prefer Trump over DeSantis, people on the left don't like either of them, right? They're calling Trump, or they call DeSantis baby Trump. So it's just, they view them as the same. So that's important. Keep that in perspective, that both of these politicians are seen as, evil. And speaking of the, politicians and everything, I'm not a loyalist. All right. I'm not loyal to either of these guys. I'm loyal to God, family, country. Politicians come and go. The constant is my God, my family, my country. That's it. Period. Now, there are people who are loyalists to Trump. You go to their Twitter page, their bio, and it's Trump, 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 Trump. God, Emperor Trump. To each their own. That's not my style. I won't do that with my favorite athlete or anybody else. Not Trump, doesn't matter. But to each their own. But I'm saying that, I'm bringing that point up to say there are people who are so for Trump, like they support Trump so much. There's literally nothing he can say that would turn them off. See, me, because I'm not a loyalist, if it's Trump or if it's DeSantis, if it's Rand Paul, if it's my local congressman, if they say something I don't like, or if they support a policy that I feel goes against the Constitution, against my freedom, I'm gonna speak out about it. I'm gonna say something about it. They will lose my vote, because that's how standing on principle works. All right. Now, for people that don't know what's going on, some people apparently don't know what's going on. We're going to play the clip of Trump calling DeSantis, without saying his name, calling him gutless over his booster status. Really weird from Trump, but here's the clip.
It's something out there. But after now so many months of the vaccine being administered and these side effects and Americans' questions of it, do you reconsider your push for it, or what's your view now on the vaccine in general?
Well, I've taken it. I've had the booster. Many politicians, I watched a couple of politicians being interviewed, and one of the questions was, did you get the booster? Because they had the vaccine. And they're answering it like, in other words, the answer is yes, but they don't want to say it. Because they're gutless. You got to say it. Whether you had it or not, say it. Right. But the fact is that I think the vaccine has saved tens of millions of people throughout the world. I have had absolutely no side effects. I've had it like other people.
So what Trump is referring to there is a recent interview with Ron DeSantis where he was asked about the booster, and he said, like he didn't say that he got it. And he reiterated his stance on it, that, it's a private matter and it's a personal choice and people should consult their doctor. That's been his stance all along. We know Trump's stance all along is, I rushed Operation Warp Speed. It's the greatest achievement of mankind, which is super debatable, but whatever. That's been his stance, right? Now, in this particular clip, Trump is talking about the vaccines and their effectiveness and that people should get it. But he takes a little detour to jab at politicians who are not making their booster status known. And I just don't understand. And I know before I even go into this, I know that people hear what they want to hear. And regardless of where you fall in this, people are going to say, like, what happened, Mike? Are you a never Trumper now? Are you a rhino? People are going to say that because, like I said, for some of the people that are Trump is absolutely everything. Anybody that doesn't hold that exact belief, or they are criticizing Trump over something, they'll be cast out as, you're an anti-Trumper. What happened to you? You turncoat. That it is what it is, right? But I just feel like Trump is wrong here. And there's no reason to create division right now when it's the midterm elections. Now, of course, the media is spinning it because they want the division. They want more of this. And I'm not going to blow this out of proportion. I'm pretty sure that they have a friendly relationship. I mean, Trump obviously helped DeSantis get elected. He's going to probably campaign for DeSantis to get reelected, I assume, even though I guarantee you this, DeSantis does not need Trump to get reelected. Guaranteed. He is, outside of Trump, the most viable Republican candidate in the whole country. And we're going to get into the polls that I put out. I put a poll out on Twitter. Also did one on YouTube. So we'll get to that. But I don't understand why Trump is feeling some type of way about politicians referring to DeSantis and others, I assume. But this is about DeSantis. I don't understand why he felt the need to say that he's gutless. Gutless, really, for not revealing his medical information. Why is that important? On a scale of all the things going on in our country right now, the big fish to fry is Republicans need to say that they've been boosted. For what? To serve what purpose? I just want to know who cares? Who actually cares? Hey, Ron DeSantis said he got the booster. Good job, buddy. Who cares about that? I don't understand why Trump feels it's necessary to call somebody who's in his party gutless right now, when, it makes me just wonder what else is going on, which, we'll get into that. But I stand firmly against this. It's your private choice. It's your decision if you want to get vaccinated or not. And you don't owe it to anybody to tell them what you did or didn't do with your body. That's been the status quo in this country for as long as I've been alive, at least, probably longer. But now all of a sudden, show yourself, reveal yourself. Have you been boosted or not? This is what, and I know I've been saying this left-right thing, but for the purpose of this conversation right here, this is what they talk about on the left. This is what politicians talk about on the left. It's turned into this: you're either vaccinated or you're not. Are you one of us? One of us, one of us. Or are you one of them? Are you one of those, unvaccinated people? People have become, it's like a tribe now. And it's frustrating that Trump is even focused on this. If you want to brag about Operation Warp Speed, cool, great. I'm personally tired of it. And I know I'm speaking for at least half of you guys watching right now, or you're tired of it. I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear about it. Who cares? What's more important is actually the mandates, the people that have lost their jobs over this. And of course, I'm not even going to get into the weeds on certain things that have happened to people after having been vaccinated. I'm not even going to go there, but you guys know what I'm talking about. You can find it all online. It's a thing. It's real. Healthy athletes just dropping dead, just casually dropping dead. Nothing to see here. Look the other way. Don't look at it. Don't notice it. It is what it is. So, I mean, it just seems like Trump has focused so much on the vaccine, and people who are just hardcore pro-Trump, Trump everything, they ignore it. They don't want to say anything about it. Why can't he keep the same energy about the mandates and the lockdowns? Now, I know Trump also says he thinks it should be optional, right? He thinks it should be optional, and I agree with him. I believe him when he says he thinks it should be optional. I don't think that he would make it mandatory if he were still in office. But he's parading around like a big pharmaceutical sales rep. That's weird to me. It's weird to me when Trump does it. It's weird to me when people in the media does it. It's weird when Hollywood, celebrities, athletes, wear it like a badge of honor. Team Pfizer here. That's just weird to me. So that's my big take on Trump's statement calling DeSantis gutless, because DeSantis actually stands on his principle that he doesn't have to reveal his vaccination status to the public at large. I mean, who can honestly say DeSantis is in the wrong? He should say that he was boosted. I mean, it's nobody's damn business. And if we're talking about DeSantis and we're talking about Trump, why isn't Trump, who beat COVID, let's not forget about that. Donald Trump beat COVID before the vaccine was even released. So he's talking about as if this is the savior of mankind. This dude beat Trump. He beat COVID when he was in Walter Reed Hospital back in 2020. He beat COVID in like 5 days. Do you know why? Do you know what he was given while he was there? This little thing called hydroxychloroquine. Also, why doesn't Trump ever talk about the early treatments? That's been the big thing for DeSantis. You know that the media, politicians, they call him Death Santis. They've released all kind of propaganda trying to take this man down because he hasn't forced people to get jabbed. He hasn't implemented lockdowns and mask mandates. He's actually going the other way. He's standing for freedom and liberty. He's standing up for Floridians. That is why so many people are moving here. But I digress. So DeSantis has promoted monoclonal antibodies, early treatments, which has saved lives. Nobody wants to talk about that except for DeSantis. So this is very interesting. You got this people on one side just pushing vaccine. It's the only thing that matters. Nothing else on earth matters but the jab. And then you got people like Ron DeSantis like, yeah, the vaccine is safe and effective. Go ahead and get it if you want to get it. But also we've got monoclonal antibody treatment. You can decide what's best for you. We don't need to be masking children. That is the appropriate way to handle this. Okay. And so it's weird to me again that you're gutless if you don't tell the world and brag about a booster shot. That to me just doesn't make any sense. All right. And it's also not very popular with Trump's base. Like DeSantis, as it relates to COVID, if we're just talking DeSantis versus Trump, who has their finger on the pulse of the base? What's more important to the base? Who understands it better, Trump or DeSantis? Matter of fact, right now, if you think that DeSantis has a better understanding of what people want at large, not just in Florida, all over the country and all over the world, quite frankly, if you think DeSantis has a better grasp at what people are frustrated about, put a 1 in the chat. If you think, no, DeSantis, Trump is so much better, Trump got it, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just curious. I'm not trying to drive a wedge or divide people on this. I'm just curious what people think, because it's telling that Trump has been booed at least twice now when he goes and talks about the vaccine. It's like, we get it, bro. We get it. You're behind Operation Warp Speed. We get it. And then taking shots at Fauci. We're sick of it. You didn't fire Fauci. You let Fauci and Deborah Birx and all these people on your COVID task force mislead you. You talked about the lockdowns early on. This is before the election. The lockdowns were great. Many millions of more people would have died if we didn't lock down and shut down travel from China. We've already shown, at least on this channel, there's several other people who've talked about it. The lockdowns didn't work, and they still don't work. It wasn't even until, I think, Candace Owens in the interview with Trump got him, pressed him, got him to say, yeah, children shouldn't be masked. But why doesn't he go out of his way to release statements about children being masked, people losing their jobs over the mandates? And so I'm saying, Don Jr. gets it. I just don't understand to me. It doesn't make sense to me how he doesn't seem to have his finger on the pulse of what is important to the people, the base. And so that's why that brings me to this poll right here. Okay. I put a poll out on Twitter, just a simple poll. If the 2024 Republican primary were held today, who would you vote for? And the final results just came in 3 minutes ago. 42.9% of people said that they would vote for DeSantis. 57.1% of people said they would vote for Trump. So, of course, the majority is still Trump. But why isn't it like 70, 80, 90% for Trump? Now, if I were to ask this question a year ago, I'd be willing to bet that the number for Trump would be higher. It would be well over 70%. Now, we could also look at my YouTube poll, which actually has more people that voted in it, more than 1,000 people. 65% say Trump, 35% say DeSantis. So a lot more slanted on my YouTube channel. And I'm thinking that's probably because I've amassed a large following of Trump supporters that follow me. And Twitter, on the other hand, me just launching this out into the ether of Twitter, so it could have made its rounds of it could have basically been voted on by people who are partisan or nonpartisan, politically agnostic, maybe independent. I don't know. That's my guess of why it's closer. But either way, I don't think that this number would increase for Trump as we get closer to 2024, because DeSantis is going to be more well known. And I've said a couple times, like I've said repeatedly, that I think that Ron DeSantis needs to run for re-election of Florida. He needs to run for governor, re-election of governor in Florida. And I stand by it. I think that he does need to run for re-election of Florida. And I think that he will. But he has not made his intentions known yet for 2024. So that means that after getting reelected, he may decide to throw his name in the hat for 2024. That could come at any point in time next year or at the beginning of 2024. I don't know when he would announce it. At that point, whenever DeSantis makes a decision on 2024, do you guys think that this poll would still reflect 57% Trump and 42.9% Ron DeSantis? If, in fact, Trump continues talking about the jab and how people should get it and taking shots at people who don't make their status known, do you think that that's popular? That's all I'm saying. Do you think it's popular? Does that resonate with people? I know some people, they love him no matter what comes out of his mouth. He could be a tyrant. People would still actually support him. But this is where I break with him on that. Just like I broke with him on bump stocks. I know I'm speaking for somebody in the chat when he was against bump stocks, right? These are things that are, I'm sorry, no politician is going to just get my blind loyalty. No politician, period. But I'm bringing this up because this poll, at least the one on Twitter, is much closer than you would think. And it doesn't seem like it's necessarily trending in Trump's favor. If anything, it would be trending in Ron DeSantis' favor. And if we're just talking from a strategic perspective, right? Strategic perspective of 2024 election, if Trump or DeSantis decide to run, let's say Trump wins the primary over DeSantis. Well, you're going to have the same thing that you had in 2020 and 2016. You're going to have a full-blown media attack. You're going to have more division, more chaos, because Trump has a lot of baggage. I understand a lot of that has come with media lies and spins and fake news, Russia collusion, and all that stuff. But it's still baggage nonetheless. Also, he brings a lot of that to the table. Now, you guys understand here, I'm just being honest. I'm just saying what's true. When he had his Twitter account, he said things on Twitter. Some of the tweets were funny. It was great. But you know what else? He was in office. He was winning. The country was winning. Good things were happening. So, of course, when you're on top of the mountain, I don't have a problem. Go ahead. Take a victory lap. Punch the media. Good. I don't mean that literally. You have to say that for the moderators here on YouTube. Not my moderators, but the YouTube moderators that are going to ultimately limit the ads on this, but whatever. I was perfectly fine with it. But right now, like, Trump would lean into the culture wars, which is what made him popular. that helped him get to reelect, that helped him get to the 2016 election. And he leaned into the culture wars, weighed in on like, oh, look at NBC. They've tanked since we got rid of The Apprentice. And he would weigh in on all kind of topics. Some of the things you're like, whatever. That's a non-starter. It's unimportant. But hey, you're doing great things with North Korea and the stock market and all this other stuff. So you just kind of cast it off. But now it's like, come on, man, we need something else. We need something else. So you think about that, his social media presence, the things that he chooses to focus on versus a Ron DeSantis. A Ron DeSantis doesn't tweet. He doesn't really lean into the culture wars. He is focused on results. Don't you guys want results? Results oriented. I'm not saying Trump wasn't results oriented. I'm just saying from a strategic perspective, who do you think is more likely to get my mom's vote? My mom, who doesn't like Trump, but she doesn't like Biden. She's not some liberal. She's not some bleeding heart liberal. If I presented her, okay, mom, Trump or DeSantis, who do you think would be better for the country? Who do you prefer? She would say DeSantis. She's like, because she doesn't like the other turnoffs. So you have to understand, there are people in this country who you may not like, you may not agree with them, but guess what? They live in the country with you. And if you could have it your way, they would vote for who you think they should vote for the betterment of the country, right? Is anybody going to say that DeSantis would be awful for the country? I'm guessing 0 people. You may see Trump is better, but you can't, nobody's really going to say DeSantis is awful. He's got an amazing record without any of the extra stuff. It's just, I'm just saying that's the reason why I thought that this poll was very interesting, because it's not just about people on the right, conservatives. It's about, in a general election, how would DeSantis fare against the top Democrat? Biden is the anomaly because he's not with us. But let's say you had the top Democrat, somebody that's like young and viable. Let's say, I don't know, I can't think of anybody that's like young and spry and at least has their mind still. I don't know. Whatever top Democrat you can think of. Them versus Trump or them versus Ron DeSantis. Who's going to get more of the independent votes? I don't know. I'm not saying I have the answer, but I can say that I know plenty of people who were turned off by the other things that Trump would say and do. They would never get a MAGA hat. But hey, if I tell them, hey, Florida, we have this governor that didn't implement a mask mandate at all. He banned all the critical race theory. He stopped all these local like cities or whatever from, robbing their citizens blind, charging people for not wearing a mask and stupid stuff. He stands for law and order. He raised the salary of teachers and first responders. I mean, the way that DeSantis has governed the state has made it more red. It's brought people from both sides of the aisle together to support him. So what could he do on a national scale? And then, of course, the long-term viability of DeSantis. Of course, he could do 8 years versus Trump doing 4 years. I'm not saying he should run in 2024. I'm just saying, what would happen if he did run in 2024? What is the poll going to look like then? I want to see what people are saying in the chat. I know people are getting pissed. I'll probably lose some subs because it's like, Mike, what happened? You're not MAGA anymore. I still like Trump. But I'm not going to stand behind him when he's talking this crazy talk about vaccines and you have to tell people you've been boosted. No, you don't. This is America. It's a free damn country. You do not have to tell anybody if you've been vaccinated or not, unless it's something like, okay, you're in a situation with your employer or you're working them. But just as a politician, you need to say if you've been boosted or you have to tell people. Where did this come from? That's what I want to know. It just seems really silly, as I'm going to pull this chat over here really quick. Trump is only 75. Yeah, he's only 75, but he can only run for president one more time. Trump sounds like he's blinded by big pharma. Yeah, some of the comments. Let's look at some of the comments of this post. We got 74 comments. We need Ron governing Florida. When he is termed out, he can run the country. somebody thought that I was trying to promote the idea of DeSantis running in 2024. And I wasn't actually. And it wouldn't matter if I was. It's ultimately his decision, and he hasn't ruled it out yet. And I think that I wonder if Trump maybe feels threatened by that. But there's no denying at all that Ron DeSantis is by far the best governor in the history of the state of Florida, the best governor in the country, the most viable Republican candidate outside of Trump. You could maybe try to throw in Greg Abbott or Kristi Noem or something, but I would laugh at that. But Ron DeSantis is only growing in popularity. So again, if this poll were to come out next year, the year after, is it going to automatically shoot up for Trump? No. Which way are the numbers trending? That's what I want to know. Anyway, I wouldn't know who to pick. I love them both. It's a trick question because your vote means nothing. That's a good point. That's a fair point. Some people are saying generally DeSantis needs to stay in Florida. People say Trump is the best for the job. There's another interesting exercise. Let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say Trump decided, you know what? I want to be governor of Florida. I'm going to primary Ron DeSantis. How would people feel about that? Do you feel that Trump would be a better governor of Florida than Ron DeSantis is right now? If you think Trump, again, this is just a mini exercise. If you think Trump, if he decided, let's pretend that he can't run for president anymore, right? But let's pretend he wanted to actually run for governor and DeSantis is the incumbent and he decided to run against him. Put a 1 in the chat right now if you think Trump would be a better governor of the state of Florida than Ron DeSantis. This will be interesting. But yeah, people in the comments here are saying DeSantis should stay for governor, but people are also saying Trump needs to back off of talking about the vaccine. Just stop it. Like, it's so bad. People saying, yeah, that's a tough one. Both are great. On Twitter, I didn't have as many comments here. Some people say that they would love to see DeSantis as the VP. And I'm thinking, what would be the point of that? Like, what is he going to accomplish as VP? You need somebody like Rand Paul or somebody else. I just think he's too potent of a politician to just sit there, twiddle his thumbs as VP. He might as well remain governor of Florida at that point. If you think he should be VP instead of like, he would still have to abandon his post as governor of Florida to be Trump's VP. So I don't know how you can make both of those arguments. Anyway, let's see what this poll said here. Bunch of 2s. Well, not a bunch, but people saying 2. The chat has been really weird lately. Usually people will put in the number and it shows right away. But people have their opinions about this. For sure. People have their opinions. They don't like it. And it's just not a good look right now. It's not a good look when you have still the de facto leader of the conservative movement or whatever taking shots at people who have not kissed the rings of big pharmaceutical companies. That to me is weird. And this isn't me like hating Trump or anything like that. Even though people have selective hearing, they're only going to hear what they want to hear. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But that more people, some of his most ardent supporters have pushed back. Candace Owens being one of them. Other people, is she a rhino? People that criticize him but supported him, voted for him like I did. Are those people rhinos all of a sudden? Are they neocons? Are they never Trumpers now? Because you're not allowed, you can only say nice things about him. Some people actually feel that way. Some of you watching right now feel that way. You're not allowed to say anything bad about Trump. I will unsubscribe. I think that's childish. It lacks, balance and nuance, but to each their own. I'm just saying, not a fan of him taking shots at Governor DeSantis, who's doing a damn good job. You can't name a better person for this job right now in the state of Florida. And the fact that I only saw twos when I asked if people think that Trump would make a better governor of Florida, that just confirms it. Some people think Trump has been compromised. I don't know. I don't even want to go there, man. Do I think he's got some blind spots? For sure. Absolutely. But so does everyone else. So does DeSantis. Matter of fact, I protested against DeSantis. This was like, I want to say, let's see, when did the pandemic start? March of 2020. By, I want to say, May or June, because DeSantis did limit the capacity at restaurants and bars and all that, gyms, everything. He limited that. So kind of a soft lockdown in Florida. And then once the data came in, he's like, oh, we're going to reopen, but we're going to reopen in phases. I went to a giant protest in downtown Orlando with a bunch of people from the left, from the right. Libertarians were there protesting against DeSantis because freedom doesn't come in phases. Open up. So, and DeSantis, he basically said he's never going to do that again. So he learned from it. He's like, we're not locking down again. And he reiterates that to this day. We're not locking down again. We're not locking down. We're going to remain open and free. People have a right to choose. They have a right to work. We don't need to be masking children. That's DeSantis right there. He has not wavered since then. He learned. But I protested against him because I didn't support that decision. If he makes another decision I don't support, guess what? I'll be right back out there protesting. I'll make another live stream because I'm not loyal to any of these guys. I'm loyal to my freedom, my country. Period. All right. Now that I've beat that dead horse, let's move on. Do you guys, I don't know if anybody knows about this. Some of you may know, some of you may not know, but there's a woman by the name of Cirsten Weldon who passed away last week. Now, she has actually been a guest on my channel before. This was like way back, like probably 4 years ago. It was in the early stages of my channel. And I had her on as a guest. She lived in Sarasota, Florida. Anyway, she died of COVID in the hospital in California. And I only found out about this because one of you left a comment in the chat or on my last video saying you were trying to get to the bottom of it because you had heard something about how she died or something like that. And I'm not trying to get into it. Like how did it really happen? She was in the hospital. Was it the treatment they gave her? I don't know, but I do know that of her last few videos, she started to show symptoms. And she was like, had shortness of breath. She posted on Instagram a photo of her with like getting oxygen treatment in the hospital. And then last Thursday, 7 days ago, she passed away. And it's really sad, man. I feel some type of way about it because I didn't know her that well, but I did know her. She was a guest on my channel. She was very nice. She went out of her way to compliment me all the time. She grew a massive following, by the way. Her following grew tremendously in 2020. If you type her name in Google right now, I had no idea she was this big. There's articles written about her. Daily Beast, Yahoo, bunch of people have written articles, or news publications have written articles about her death. Of course, they are basically bragging that she died. They're happy she died because she was an anti-vaxxer. So that's the only reason they're reporting on it, which obviously I don't support that. But yeah, she was really nice. She sent followers my way. She's given me so many compliments, and it's really sad. I actually saw her at CPAC last year. She was at the same hotel as me, which is like, I just happened to run into her there and we talked for a few minutes. And I mean, she was one of those QAnoners. I'll tell you that. When I saw her, this was well after Biden's inauguration. This was CPAC. So this was like February. She was saying Trump's going to be reinstated. They're leading children out of tunnels. The deep state, all of the enemies are getting arrested. That turned out to be a lie. That's not true. But she's one of those people that was hardcore QAnon. And apparently she was going around telling people not to get jabbed, saying only idiots get it. And you guys know where I stand on the jab. You guys know I have never and I will never tell people what they should or should not put into their body. It's your choice, and it's none of my damn business if you do or don't. It's just not my business. I could care less, honestly. So that's my stance on it. I don't care if people get it or don't. I mean, it's your choice. But I would never go around telling people not to get it. And I certainly wouldn't brag about somebody dying after getting it or whatever, or dying because they didn't get it or whatever the reason. And that's, again, the division in our country is so damn toxic, and it's coming from both sides. It really is. COVID created this whole new level of division where, oh, look, double jab, double boosted, triple masked person just died of COVID. It's like, are you really bragging about their death? Like, do you feel excited that the person died because they're on the other side of your belief about COVID, the vaccine, mask? I'm not a fan of doing that. I'm not a fan of it. And I'm not a fan of like speculating. I will speculate when there's a lot of people getting sick, right? Like, whoa, what's really going on here? These fully vaccinated NFL players, hockey players, like what's going on there? So I will challenge that. But as far as like, did Betty White really die from old age, or was it the jet? Like, really, she was 99 years old. And you got people out there still saying, Betty White, I heard she got the jab. Like, get it together. This is getting pathetic at this point. It honestly is. And y'all know I'm telling the truth. It's bad. So yeah, again, rest in peace to Cirsten Weldon. She was a smart lady, and she was really just kind, really nice. The couple times I saw her, she seemed like she really knew what she was talking about, but I'm not on the QAnon thing. You guys know where I stand on that. I've talked about that. It is still happening, that movement. I don't know how these people are able to grift the money that they are, but they are still out there. X22 report all, they are still going at it. There were people gathered in Dallas at the site where JFK was assassinated. They were gathered there because they thought JFK Jr. was going to show up. This was like in September maybe, or October. So embarrassing. But hey, to each their own. Just like people go to Comic-Con, just like people have their own little Star Wars nerd out thing, let people nerd out and think that Trump is going to reappear with a superhero cape and save everyone's life. You're allowed to think that. I just think it's crazy, but you're allowed to think it. None of these politicians are going to save your life. Period. Point blank, period. Tell me where the lie is. Not a single one of these politicians, not DeSantis, not Trump, none of them are going to save your life. Would they be better at running the country? I would take either of these guys running the country right now, to be honest. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Like I said, I knew that this was going to be one of the more divisive topics. This is the only topic I have today, but I felt like it was important to cover it because it's just so weird, man. Ron DeSantis getting attacked by Trump, getting called gutless. It's one thing if you're like, hey, these politicians, they need to say whether they've been boosted or not. But to call someone gutless because they didn't brag about, like, hey, look, I got boosted, you should get it too. Just miss me with that. Just no. Someone say God saves. Jesus saves. Yes. Jesus is Lord. Jesus saves. That's it. No man. And I just realized that now. I mean, I realized it before, but I realize now that none of these politicians, it doesn't matter if it's DeSantis or Trump, they're not going to save you. I will tell you this, a politician on the local level has a whole lot more impact on your day-to-day life than some goofball sitting in the White House right now. I'll tell you that much. And it's been proven. You come to Florida if you want freedom. That's why politicians are coming here. Maskless, there's no restrictions. Hang out, do what you want to do. That's why they're coming here. Because where you live is more important than who's president. If you live in New York, you got to show health papers everywhere you go. If you live in Florida, you're free as a bird, as free as you can be living in this country. Let me go back up to, there was an interesting topic or chat comment. Someone said, truth, Mike, for private businesses, but not for healthcare workers. Trump is the savior for our country. Man, stop. Stop it. Just stop it. There is no savior of the country. There is not. And if there was a savior, why weren't we saved already? I'm just curious. All of this went down in the year of 2020. And I'm sure the excuses will roll in of why, this is why, and there's that, and then there was that. No, the swamp was not drained. The swamp was not drained. That's a fact. The swamp was actually installed in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. How about that? How about those apples? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. The swamp oversaw the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, even though she was found guilty on 5 or 6 counts. There's more to come. How is Ghislaine Maxwell the only person being prosecuted? We know that the former president of the United States went to that damn island. There's photographs of the man getting massaged by the underage girls. Now, all of a sudden, Prince Andrew is getting stripped of his stuff. The queen is stripping. Like, why now? Why now? You knew all this before. I'm just saying, I don't want to go on a tangent, but the swamp is alive and well, if you haven't noticed. So no, there is no white hat operation, covert military. They're taking down the enemies. Hillary and John Podesta are going to get arrested, and Ellen DeGeneres. No, they're not. For the 100th time, it's not happening. It's sad. I just want to see people snap out of it. But if you know it's fake, but you want to participate anyway, well, more power to you. I didn't like it when he said it with Bill O'Reilly, and I certainly don't like it now. He just went against Rand Paul. Bad move, guy. Are you talking? I assume you're referring to Trump. Someone said, so you told us what you don't stand for, Mike. Tell us what you do stand for. I've told you that many of times. Many of times. Freedom, liberty, property rights, freedom of speech, limited government, low taxation. We need smaller government than we have right now. I'm sick of the status quo across the board. They hid a traitor into the jury and are going for mistrial. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. Someone said, who talked negative about Rand Paul? And here's another thing too. Another thing that happened this week. Politicians grilled Fauci again in front of the Senate. And I see people like Dinesh D'Souza and other prominent figures in the conservative movement like cheering it on like it's a team sport. We deserve better than this. I'm sick of the lip service. Oh, my favorite politician, my favorite Republican just grilled Fauci, totally just hammered Fauci. So what? That's cute. Imagine my shock. Imagine me being surprised and impressed. Imagine being impressed by that. Republicans totally just grilled Fauci. Yeah, Fauci's still a free man. All I see is lip service and sound bites for it. It's just fodder for re-election. That's it. Sean said, Mike has always been consistent with his stance on freedom. Someone said, you spent so much time backing Trump. The MSM is ruining your ability to see. What MSM? I see with my own eyes. Someone said, I like what you're saying so far. I might have to stick around for a minute. Good. I hope you do. Lip service and sound bites. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Lynn W says, Mike, I've followed you when you had very little subs. Trump is the strongest person to take America back. He's a fighter. You've never heard me say that he's not the strongest person. I do think he is the strongest person. As it stands right now, he has more. There's people who apparently there's got to be people who don't know yet the incredible job Governor DeSantis has done here. But I tell you what, the media sure as hell is threatened by him. Democrats are sure as hell threatened by him. They don't even want to dump money into whichever Democrat is going to run against him for midterms this year. What does that tell you? I'm just saying, Trump is strong, but people have this like tunnel vision, like that is the only person that can save us. First of all, none of these people single-handedly are going to save your life. That's not going to happen. It's just not. But Trump isn't the only one. If anything, maybe he's kingmaker. DeSantis probably owes his election in 2018 to Trump because DeSantis was losing his primary. His primary challenger, Adam Putnam, I think that was his name, he was beating DeSantis before Trump endorsed him. And the rest was history. So one of the best things Trump did was actually endorse the best governor of the biggest swing state in the whole country. That's the truth. These are facts, people. That's true. I'm just saying Trump isn't the only one. And shouldn't it be that way? Shouldn't you be able to say that? Isn't that a good thing? Like, hey, it's not just Trump. DeSantis is actually good too. Isn't it good to know that there's other fighters, other people who could lead, other people who share the America first? And as an added bonus, they don't have the tarnished like reputation, whether it's the media doing it or some of the blunders that they've done themselves, whatever the case may be. He doesn't have the baggage. Isn't that a good thing that we have somebody who's a fighter, America first, that doesn't have baggage? I'm not saying Trump shouldn't run. I'm just saying, listen to the fact that people don't even know Ron DeSantis yet, but if you tell them about him, they might be on board with it, especially when you're talking about independents, people who would be on the fence. Yeah, and you're right, DM. And it was a close call between DeSantis and Gillum. It went to a recount. So not only did DeSantis struggle in his primary, he struggled in the general against Gillum, of all people. Gillum. So yes, Trump absolutely helped him get reelected. But now that DeSantis is being labeled by the media, by the way, as mini Trump, that means DeSantis doesn't need Trump. He can win re-election on his own. Trump actually could go and help some other lesser known Republicans in other states. Who is the next Ron DeSantis? Where are they? Which state are they in? Are they running for House? Are they running for Senate? Are they running for governor? Are they running for mayor? City council? Who is the next DeSantis? Because I'd like to think a Trump endorsement could go a long way. Just saying. But only if they're a freedom fighter. Like if Trump's prerequisite for endorsing them is they have to disclose their booster, not only will that not work, it's going to turn people off. You cannot sit here and tell me that him bragging about Operation Warp Speed isn't a turnoff. You can't tell me it's not a turnoff. It's a complete non-starter. Someone said, I like Trump, but he is a bad judge of character. It's just my opinion. I don't know. I can't really speak to that. I know that he obviously got some bad advice. I feel like he endorsed Greg Abbott way too early. He endorsed Brian Kemp. How'd that turn out? It remains to be seen if Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh are going to be good in the long run as far as the way that they rule. You know, but a lot of people around Trump made some bad suggestions. I mean, obviously, Fauci was not a good choice. And Fauci is now still in there. By the way, fun fact, Ronald Reagan is the reason we have Fauci. Look it up. Stacey Abrams believes she's entitled to become the governor of Georgia because she's a loudmouth. Black leftist female. Ooh, that's spicy. I wouldn't necessarily say she's a loudmouth. Here's another thing Trump said when he had his rally. I want to say it was in Georgia. He was dragging Brian Kemp, and then he was like, "You might as well just have Stacey Abrams for governor," because he was like, bashing Kemp, and the crowd didn't know how to react to that because they're like, "Wait, what? Is he endorsing Stacey Abrams? That can't be a thing." It was weird. So much weirdness, guys. We were told to question everything. I am. Yeah. You should question everything. They don't want you to question anything, but you should probably question everything. If they tell you don't question anything, you should probably question everything. There's nothing wrong with that. Someone said, and Ronald Reagan allowed Big Pharma indemnity from childhood jabs, adverse reaction payouts. There's a couple things Ronald Reagan did. Something having to do with immigration. I forget what it was. I looked into this several years ago. Something that ultimately led to California turning blue. So there's pros and cons to all these people, man. None of them are your savior. Zero politicians are your savior. Zero people are your savior. Zero. And if you think that, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. All you got to do is sit back, trust the plan, and the good guys in government are going to come and save you and arrest your enemies and take them to Gitmo. It's not happening. And people who support Trump still are noticing that. What's somebody's talking about drag stuff? I hear from Elijah Schaefer, there are more Republicans in California than Democrats. I was very surprised, actually, when I was out there last year and I went to, where was I at? We were out there for a Matt Gaetz thing. That's another thing, man. Matt Gaetz. I don't know. I can't sit here and ignore what's happening. Some of the things that's happening. But anyway, I was really surprised to see Riverside actually seemed more conservative. There's very conservative people out there in California. Mike, are you on Getter? Yep, I'm on Getter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on all the social media except Facebook. Someone asked, am I optimistic about the country in general? Not particularly. No, not at the present time. No. I am optimistic about the future of my state. And again, to reiterate, I think the politics in your state matter so much more than the politics of the country. If nothing else, if the country starts going sideways, if the leadership in your state is solid, they will build a firewall between you and big government takeover. That's essentially what Ron DeSantis has done. And it's not just him. He can't do it on his own. The state legislature is Republican majority. So they haven't blocked or filibustered any of these bills. Anything that he's wanted to get done has not been stonewalled by his own party. And why? Because they're more accountable to the people that they serve and represent. They're at the state level. So they're not fully compromised. Obviously, people like George Soros working to usurp that. But for the most part, by and large, at least in Florida, I can only speak for Florida. I don't know about other states. The Republican Party here is pretty solid. I can honestly say that. There's a few bad apples here and there, sure. But the Republicans that are here that just represent the state Republicans, They're pretty solid. Not compromised, not corrupt for the most part. Actually govern with the principle of defending freedom and liberty. They're actually defending the republic. You know, Republicans are supposed to defend the republic. They're actually kind of doing that. But I mean, other states, you got work to do. I feel like you should, and it's just tough love. You know, I'm just saying it because iron sharpens iron. People got mad when I criticized Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz. But it's like, I'm not going to cheerlead somebody just because they have an R next to their name. That's not who I am. And I don't care if it's Trump or DeSantis or anybody. I care more about this country than any politician. Isn't that the correct way? I think. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. No, you should be loyal to Trump because he's the one that's saving it. No, this country was great before he was born, and this country will be great after. This country is going to be great as long as we are not letting the future generation destroy it through the indoctrination and propaganda that this is a horribly racist country and we need a communist society. Then we can have utopia, equity for all. You know, as long as that doesn't become the overwhelming majority, I think we'll be good. But that, to me, is a much bigger fight than Republicans that don't show and don't tell us that they've been boosted are gutless. That is one spicy take there, Trump. Someone said the Great Reset has to be stopped. Oh, wow. We're almost at an hour already. This is like my longest stream of the last month. You got to be honest overall, in my opinion. There's only one party. Almost every single one of them are out for themselves and not representing us. I fully agree with you on that. And that's why I haven't really been weighing in on what's happening in Congress. Like, oh my gosh, Nancy Pelosi, AOC. Who cares? Who cares? Honestly, you're right. Mitch McConnell is there. What's the difference between Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer? Not much. Not much. I mean, both sides of the political aisle are playing everybody. But you got so many people out there treating it like it's just a team sport. Like, look at my side, just totally handled Fauci. Cool. It's just dumb. Worry about what's going on in your state. Politics is super duper hyper local. American, not Republican, not Democrat. Both sides are bad. Obviously, I think one side is significantly worse than the other, but that doesn't mean that the other side is somehow like saints and they're good. They get a pass. Oh, I won't criticize them because that's a bad look. Like, no. You either stand for the Constitution and what you run on, you either support that or you don't. It's as simple as that. But yeah, we got 3 more years of Brandon to deal with. It feels like he's been in office for like 8 years already. It just, and some point you have to like, you don't forget about it, but I mean, nothing that he has passed, nothing that he has done has affected me other than like obviously gas prices, inflation, things like that. But some of his other ambitious goals, his vanity projects, those aren't impacting me right now. I'm more worried about keeping the leadership that I have in my state in place because that's my best line of defense against whatever's going on in DC. Your best line of defense is who's your governor, who's your mayor, who's your city council, who is your sheriff, like things like that. Who are the judges and the prosecutors in your area? To me, that's got a bigger impact on your life than the Green New Deal and let's fight over it and all this stuff. Just saying. think we saw that. I think COVID opened a lot of people's eyes. The difference between living in a red state and a blue state has never been more contrasted than it is now. New York might as well be a different country. Someone said, Mike, just join CNN and have done with it. Well, that's a grammatical error. Someone said I should join CNN. That's funny. See, this is what happens when you let emotion cloud your judgment. Whoever's saying that, you're just wildly emotional. You just hear what you want to hear. You have no interest in the truth. You just have interest in hearing something that reinforces what you think is true. And anything that contradicts that, you stoop to the lowbrow ad hoc, like stupid. Just join CNN already. It's like, give me a break. Do better. Maria said, the problem is that Trump has a large ego, which is one of his flaws. So whatever he worked, in this case, the vax, he is going to feel very pissed. I don't think that's what you meant to say. Pissed? I don't know. Someone said, don't feed the trolls. They are called trolls, Mike. DM, you're supposed to take care of those trolls. Just kidding. Don't ban them for saying that. You can say that. I was just joking, but I'm not feeding the trolls. I'm just reading the comments. That's a comment that I happen to see. It's not like I'm searching for like who's saying something negative right now so I can address it. No wonder you hardly ever wore a MAGA hat at rallies. There are more rallies that I wore a MAGA hat than rallies that I didn't. And also, I did switch to the RSBN hat because I work for RSBN and it's branding. It's the logo, it's branding. We actually had an RSBN like flag banner that we were hanging over the side of the railing on the pressurizers because that was helping get the word out. That's what helped us grow so much. One of the reasons we grew so much, aside from obviously covering the rallies, was we would put the banner up. I can't even tell you how many times we go out and there's people who still don't even know who we are. For example, when I went to New York City to cover the workers against mandates, they didn't recognize who I was. So obviously they weren't watching Trump rallies. They hadn't seen who we were. But because I was branding, I had an RSBN backpack. The microphone obviously had RSBN on it. The hat, RSBN. That helps people know who we are. So, but if you think that I just wasn't wearing the hat because I'm secretly anti-Trumper, well, then that's your interpretation of everything else I said. That was, in my opinion, truthful. Yeah, someone said, what are they talking about? I saw you wear a MAGA hat lots of times. Absolutely. And I still will wear the MAGA hat. See, what you're doing is because Trump made the MAGA hat popular, you're conflating Make America Great Again, the phrase, with Trump. He's not even the first person to say that. If you've been paying attention, obviously, Bill Clinton said, Make America Great Again in one of his campaign speeches. Ronald Reagan said, Make America Great Again in one of his campaign speeches. It just became popular under Trump. So I still support Make America Great Again. I think that it's a great phrase. And it's also true. This never had more significance and meaning than it does now. Could America be better than it is right now? Absolutely. So, yeah. Someone said, in my opinion, MAGA has more to do with the great men and women of this country than Donald Trump. He just came up with the slogan. No, he didn't. But yeah, he gave a great men and women hope. That's true. He became the voice of the people who elected him. Maybe not completely, but yeah. The clothes don't make the man. There you go. See, I like mature comments. I like smart comments. I like them. Okay, Skystone. Whatever. If your leader is man, I guess good luck to you. Let me know how that works out when your leader ultimately disappoints you, because human beings will disappoint you. I think you might learn one day. I'm willing to bet, Skystone, that you're probably older than me. I have an older audience. And if you haven't figured out that no human being is going to save you, then I don't know what to tell you. God bless you. That's what I'll say. That was a George Michael quote. I don't know. I like Hotep Jesus. Hotep Jesus, Uncle Hotep. They're cool. I get along with most people. A lot of them know me, follow me. I've met them. They're cool. Why the wall being built around the White House? Leader, not savior. Don't change my words. I didn't change your words, Skystone. Clothes don't make the man, George Michael. Oh, it's a George Michael quote or lyric from one of his songs. Ian Smith said Trump was betrayed in 2020. Yeah, I think that since we're at an hour now, this is normally when I wrap up the stream. And it's probably a good time to do that since, I've said everything I need to say. I'm just reading comments. I'm curious how many subscribers have lost it. And they're just like, I cannot take Mike Nificent anymore. We don't share a brain. He's not in lockstep agreement with everything I believe. So I must unsubscribe. It's just funny to me. I just laugh at it, actually. Because there are plenty of people that I have disagreed with on many topics, but I still listen because I'm like, I still like their perspective. And it's interesting that that's their take. I couldn't disagree more, but I'm not going to go leave a comment. I'm totally done with this channel. I'm unsubscribing. That's snowflake behavior. It's just soft. It's weak. He's still the best president since JFK or Reagan. That is true. He governed for everybody. Who cares? The ones you lost, you gained some as well. That's true. Attrition is it's to be expected. Someone said Trump needs to stop talking about the vaccine, and DeSantis, he will lose support. Both of those statements are true. Both of those statements are factual. That is absolutely true. Couple more questions and I'm out of here. Mike, what do you think of Canada's 10 p.m. curfew and people being arrested? And do you think it'll make its way to America? I think Canada is Canada. They've always been far left. What you saw with these lockdowns, what you saw with COVID was the ultimate justification for power grabs worldwide. Do you think Canada will ever relinquish its power? Do you think Canada will ever go back to the way it was? No. Once government grows that big, it never shrinks back to its original size. So 10 p.m. curfews, mask forever, mandates forever, show your papers forever. Canada's done. I don't see it going back. That's why I stand so firmly for limiting the power that people have over your life. Why is that controversial? I just don't get it. People can be so corrupt, put their own interests first, so they should have limited power to influence your life. And that's what I think about Canada in a nutshell. You know, I've talked about what's going on in Canada, Germany, Austria, Australia, France, the Netherlands, the power grabs, the authoritarian overreach over the virus. But you know what? That's there, not here. So do I think curfews will come here? I think curfews are, I mean, that already happened. I mean, a lot of it happened at the height of the pandemic, 2020. I mean, yeah, I think it's already happening here, but I think it's going to be limited to your location. It's not going to be nationwide. Why? Because Governor Ron DeSantis, Governor Kristi Noem, Bill Lee, Kim Reynolds, Greg Abbott, even, they stand up to federal overreach. As long as you have Republican governors that will stand up to federal overreach, your state is going to be fine. You'll be fine. It's just going to be a power struggle that gets tied up in the courts and never goes into effect. So I guess I don't worry about it nearly as much. It sucks that the country, that could be happening anywhere in the country, but I don't know what you can really do about it at this point. It's now pretty much just a coalition of red states, blue states. And even some blue states are bucking that trend. I mean, I reported like 3 weeks ago about Colorado, blue state, Democrat governor Jared Polis. He reversed course on after the Omicron. He's like, no, we're done with this. So he lifted all the mandates. He might have changed his mind, but since then, but I mean, you're always going to have a wall of defense in America. They won't take this country over. I think that's one of my biggest lessons, my biggest takeaways from 2021. After a full year of Brandon, I'm like, man, as long as you have the leadership in place like we do in Florida, you can probably weather the storm and survive a authoritarian presidency. That was a big takeaway. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't sure. You got to have fighters. All right, so that's it. I'm going to wrap up now. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, make sure that you give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. Like, share, subscribe, follow me on the social medias. Shout out to the moderators, the super chatters, everybody that supports me, emails, praise, everything else. God bless you guys. I'll catch you in the next stream.